Bitcoin is bullish, and it's never been more bullish than this moment in my entire life. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely incredible, and it is going even higher. At least that's a really good clickbait title for today. And we'll start things off with reviewing all of the bullish setups that we've been looking at on this channel, despite my personal beliefs that they're unlikely to reach a lot of these targets. But hey, they're a lot closer to these targets at this point where it really makes you think, holy shit, that actually might happen. And we'll start it off over here with the meta signal setup. This was a daily setup that fired off all the way back in the early portion of April when Bitcoin was trading at 83,400 almost. And now, more than a month later, more than like 6 weeks later almost, Bitcoin is nearly at target number 3. I would actually, I made a post about this on Twitter, but I would actually ask community, like, I know a lot of people took this one, but who actually had the fucking patience to hold through this one? I'm just genuinely curious. And by the way, if you're looking for setups like this from MetaSignals, you can find it in the link in the description below. They send out a lot of free setups, by the way, and they also have a particular promotion going on for like, I don't know, it's like $9 for getting like their full suite of signals going on right now. But yeah, this one is extremely close to target number 3. Target number 3, admittedly, is a low probability, around 20%, but that actually would put Bitcoin at new all-time highs, 110,350 almost, and change. So, is that the next sort of logical area of interest for Bitcoin? I suppose that does kind of make sense. That can also be combined with this setup over here that we've been monitoring on this channel since about the same date. This one coming in around the midpoint of April. It's a 5-day time frame setup, super simplistic in the way that it is, well, set up, if that's not redundant enough. But we can see that anytime the 5-day time frame closes above this red moving average, which is a 5 EMA, and you open a long, and then you wait for price action to close below that same moving average, well, these would have been your history. These would have been your results over the full history of Bitcoin. Now, I should definitely tell you that these early results over here are going to be, massively outsized returns just due to the nature of Bitcoin in the early days is going absolutely crazy in terms of percentage moves. But even if we get rid of all of that crazy nonsense and go back, as far as, let's say, 2017 till current, this is still going to have a pretty nice edge here. And it's really designed, this strategy is really designed to catch on to all of the major trending moves that Bitcoin has. And you can see right here, it's still pretty damn good. Profitable trade rate is actually well under 50%. It's at almost 39. But because that profit factor is so damn high, it does offer up that nice up and to the right equity curve here. And like I said, it's a very simple strategy. Of course, if you did want to automate it or test it out yourself or, create your own strategies, you could do that with the Quant Prime service, which is also linked in the description below. But this is a pretty simple strategy. You don't really need it. You don't really need this tool to play out this strategy. Although, hey, with the Quant Prime, you can set up all sorts of crazy shit, much more complicated than this. Anyways, my point is that as this one has fired off at about 83,400, we can now go into this report once again. Let me generate it one more time, and let's go into the trade analysis and see how long these trades typically took to play out, and then what the average percent return was for those winning trades. And the average winning trade was actually it's actually a little bit above 40%, or just under 41%, I should say. And the average amount of bars in winning trades has been 10. So 10 bars on a 5-day time frame is what? That is, of course, 50 days. And 40% from that entry at 83,400 is what? Or sorry, 83,600 is what? Well, holy shit, that's actually like much new highs. That's like 118 to 120,000 bucks. Now, I do think if we were to curtail these results a little bit more, maybe going from like the beginning of 2018 rather than 2017, because 2017 was a little bit of a crazy year, to be fair, that average return for those winning trades goes down significantly, about 10% to just over 29%. So if we were to say, 29% is a little more accurate, then what would that look like? Well, that puts Bitcoin at around 109 to 110,000 bucks. So that actually does correlate quite well with the MetaSignals setup over here. So I do think that Bitcoin can maybe spike those highs. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Bitcoin's already at all-time highs right now. I mean, this is a fucking super impressive move. Again, despite my personal opinion of it. Anyways, on top of that, on the bullish side, and one of the things that has, made me, I guess, a little bit more of like a bias towards medium/long-term upside over these next few months is the tether, or what I refer to as the stablecoin dominance chart. The stablecoins right here. And we can see a couple of things. One, this one is, in a breakdown mode as of right now. And two, the MACD on the weekly is starting to cross over. So, whether it has a bounce here or not, I mean, I don't really have strong opinions on it. It's definitely been trying to bounce here and holding this range sideways, but ultimately, whether it bounces here or not, I think is irrelevant, because still the long-term trend would be to the downside. And I do suspect that, you're going to get a lot closer to these lows, around 5.5% to maybe as low as 5%, which would obviously equate to, massively new highs or maybe not massively new highs, but decently new highs, at least on Bitcoin itself. So, this is naturally going to take at least a few months to come down, but I would still stick with what I've been saying here, that, when you do see the monthly get back down towards these lows, you're probably, in terms of timing, very close to whatever major high that you are about to put in, within about a month, I would say, because that is actually exactly how it worked on these on these both past couple iterations for the January highs and then also the March highs of 2024. So just something to keep in mind, something to watch if you are of that opinion. Anyways, yes, okay. So just kind of wrapping it up here for the bullish side, I do want to, I also well, no, we don't need to talk about that. But I also do want to basically say, look, as long as Bitcoin's above $100,000, higher term time frame's not bearish. I mean, look at the quarterly right here. Quarterly is one ball sack hair away from having a massive major quarterly time frame, 3 months bullish engulfing dildo. All it needs to do is trade above. It just needs to trade above January's high at 109,350, which, if the meta signals and the 5-day time frame setup play out to that totality, well, that condition will be met. And then you got a quarterly bullish engulfing dildo for the first time in Bitcoin's history ever, and kind of have to be looking for further upside into September, I suppose, at least for the next quarter. New highs abound. So anyways, if that does happen, that's where I just throw up my hands in the air and I'm like, all right, I guess I've just gone fucking absolutely insane, because I guess this is like the most bullish thing I've ever seen. No, I'm kidding. But I certainly would be, expecting a very, very nice continuation from a setup like that. Anyways, I also do want to represent the bearish side, because personally, I do still, I still look at this and I fully admit that I might be losing my fucking mind in this case. But I still look at this, and I still look at this as one major massive trading range with your highs, basically the January highs of 2025, and then your lows coming in, kind of around those April numbers. So, 110 to the upside versus like low 80s to the downside. Don't think that Bitcoin's going to be coming down all the way to the bottom side of the range, but look, if Bitcoin takes out this price action pivot here, even on the 4-hour time frame, I would say this is a very, very good warning signal, and that's below about 104. I would be looking at this to very likely come back down and play out Bitcoin's like first decent pullback from these highs. I know I sound like a fucking crazy person at this point. I know I sound like a broken record, but very few, like all of the things that I look at here continue to tell me that this is a time to be more conservative, more protective, if you will, and again, that doesn't mean that Bitcoin can't run to the upside later. In fact, if Bitcoin were to pull back here, my strong belief is that whatever upside you'd be looking at for Bitcoin is going to be greater in terms of effect and also in terms of time. Just blasting up to new all-time highs from here and like really continuing on with the move. I really have a hard time seeing this market go past, especially like September, but fair enough. My opinion is not really necessary on that. Anyways, as far as the bearish side goes, I do want to, like I said, give it its due diligence. And we'll start off over here with the daily MACD. And the daily MACD is crossing, it is actually crossing down right here. And it remains to the downside as long as Bitcoin is closing daily dildos below 107,200, which, it's really just a sneeze around right now. So it's not like that far away or anything like this. But yes, something to keep in mind, especially when you're at the top side of the range, price action traders, especially in this region, are going to be like, oh, it's retesting the prior highs. Should be expecting a pullback. Makes a lot of sense. Anyways, on top of that, we also, as we went over in yesterday's video, there has been a absolutely extreme move that we've seen in terms of momentum throughout this whole move that began in the early portion of April, in which the daily stochastic momentum oscillator has been in this critical zone for now It is day number 32. And as you can see, even if it crosses down today, which it will, by the way, if Bitcoin closed below 106,600, which it's very close to right now. But if it does do that, it's still not going to come below the critical zone on the next tick. It'd take at least another few ticks. So I'd imagine by the time that this is all said and done, even if it does top out here, it's still going to be like day number 35. And that is a massive, massive outsized number compared to almost any other time that you've seen the daily stochastic oscillator get into this really critical zone. For example, during the November rally, remember when Trump won the presidency and Bitcoin went up like fucking crazy amount? That was only 17 days, like basically half of the one that we're currently looking at. Before that, the run in September, again, another very impressive one, 14 days. Before that, in July, again, another very impressive one, only 12 days. The only other time in the last like 5 years that you're going to find remotely comparable to this is actually the January/February run of 2024, where technically it actually didn't spend as many days in. But if we do look at this area right here, it's not necessarily breaking down below the critical zone. That was 44 days. So, it's still like another week, a little bit more than a week away, week and a half away from right now. But other than that, you're going to be very hard pressed to find anything that's, even over 30 days going back. You can see that I measured all these out, and I mean, I guess there's one right here. There's 38 days back in October of 2020 when Bitcoin was just trading below prior all-time highs and then broke out. But, these are the exception to the rule, and certainly great, great outliers. So that is why I continue to be more on the defensive side here, because look, if Bitcoin were to pull back more, like I said, that would actually make it look a lot more healthy in my mind for keeping this market up and the market cycle, going for a longer time. Anyways, the other thing that I wanted to bring up is actually something that I forgot to put on my damn charts here, but I wanted to bring back this Fibonacci time extension. If you recall, we brought this up, like a couple months ago, and we measured the high of last cycle to the low of this cycle, and the points of relevant or the dates of interest after that have been, extremely well correlated with typically major highs on Bitcoin, although there has been one major low. But again, it's not perfect. Like this one over here, one day after the high. This one over here, also actually one day after one 5-day period after the high. This one over here, basically on the high before a nice sideways consolidation. This one over here, couple bars before the lows, but still pretty good. This one over here, literally on the high, so that one actually did do its job. This one over here, 1 bar after the high, and this one over here, obviously that's not going to be 1 bar after the high because Bitcoin's already gone higher. But we have another date of relevance coming in right here. So I would be looking at that saying, in my mind, like, okay, typically you have a counter move when these dates of interest occur, and you're already at the top side of the range, and you're already seeing extreme reads that you just do not get, even on a yearly basis. For many of the things that we've looked at. So, I'm looking at this, and if I have to bet on a direction, like I really would be betting to the downside. Does that mean I'm taking shorts? No, I'm not. I'm not trading to the short side here. I'm only interested in long-term positions at this point, as I switch into more of a long-term investor myself. But that means I'm not buying in this region right here. Anyways, yes. And then, of course, the other thing that we've been mentioning over the past few days, which continues to not be confirmed, which is like very fucking annoying, is, of course, all of the divergences that are building up on the daily time frame, the daily RSI, that is. Now, again, these have not been confirmed just yet, but you can see that they are and have been building since early May. This is the daily time frame right here. Again, you're gonna be having bearish divergence, assuming that you just remain below that lower high, or sorry, that higher high. If we go over to even the 5-day time frame, you'll notice that there is divergence building. Again, not confirmed, and we'll go over confirmation methods in a moment. It's basically the same thing as yesterday, just in case you're wondering. The 5-day also has bearish divergence building right here. You're still on massively lower highs compared to the highs from January and December. And I think this goes all the way up to maybe even a 10-day time frame. Let me just double check on this one, although this one is, well, let's see. Let's wait for it to load. It's going to take a little bit of time. We got a bunch of caretakers doing all the calculations in the background, making sure that the numbers are correct. And yeah, I mean, theoretically, you would have bearish divergence here compared to the January, December, and even March of 2024 highs. But you would need to confirm a local high first. So how would you confirm a local high on this? Well, coming back down below Monday's low, it's probably going to be good enough to do it for me. If you want to go by the book, the price action pivot here is 100,800. So that would be like, 100%, like you got a major high in there. And then all those divergences play out, and, you're probably looking at Bitcoin back down to like mid or low 90s, I would imagine. But until then, that's all hopium, I suppose, just because it's not actionable, it's not confirmed. It is in the background. I do think it is worth calling it out because at some point, it will play out, but who knows if it plays out here, if Bitcoin goes to fucking $120,000 first. That's a real question. Anyways, I think that's where I'll leave off my video for today. As always, you can get all these tools and you can try them for free even for the first 7 days. All you need to do is just follow the link in the description below for Teachable, and you don't even need a code. Like, it's just, if you want to try them out, it's there for you to do that. There's no strings attached, no bullshit, no nothing like that. If you find it valuable, stay on. If you don't. Like, it's all good. No one's gonna be mad at you. It's okay. Anyways, with all of that said, I'd like to wish you the best. I need to go to the gym now. It's way late for myself, actually. So take care, much love, and see you hopefully Thursday.